the blockchain Ethereum. He's also co-founder and CEO of Web3 and software company Consensus. Good morning to you. What did you think when you first saw the tweet yesterday?
So I wasn't watching the market directly at that point. I heard about it from colleagues, and essentially it's an unfortunate unforced error, symptomatic of unforced errors that politicians and regulators have been committing in America. Around the world, politicians and regulators have recognized that blockchain and crypto are powerful disruptive technologies, and they're taking a considered, mature approach to understanding how the technology will benefit society and how it should be regulated. And there's just been so much pent up demand in our ecosystem that I think it caused somebody to play a prank or to take advantage of the SEC's resources to effectively manipulate markets and harm
I want to talk about the prospect of what may come after, frankly, the approval of a Bitcoin ETF, which may very well be an Ethereum one, and we should talk about that in a moment. But I'm more curious about why you think it's taken. Let's just assume that they're going to say yes, and maybe that's a good or bad assumption. But assuming that's the case, do you think they should have done this 2 and 3 years earlier? Do you think there's been shifts and changes in the evolution of that ecosystem that needed regulation and other things that are now in a better place that would explain why today is different than it would have been 3 years ago?
Yeah, so I think one argument is that there were immature markets that could be used to manipulate the price of the digital assets. But the fact is, people had exposure either directly or through other financial instruments like GBTC, and retail traders, other investors were harmed by excessive premiums, and ETFs are just much more efficient instruments, and they should have been made available a long time ago.
Can you make a distinction, though, between Bitcoin and Ethereum in the following way? People talk about Bitcoin as digital gold. There was a point at which people thought it would be a true currency of sorts rather than sort of a store of value. Ethereum is very different. And so the question is, does Ethereum need an ETF in the same way?
Yeah, so Bitcoin can be a store of value or a collateral currency. There are transactional currencies called stablecoins. Many of those are resident on Ethereum. Ethereum is a commodity. We call it a crypto fuel because it powers transactions and storage on the network. And so Ethereum is a platform for building decentralized applications, and decentralized applications represent a new kind of technology, and for a new kind of industry, we need deep, liquid, and broadly accessible financial instruments to enable the industry to operate more effectively, just as agriculture and manufacturing have had for decades.
And is your sense that more people are going to ultimately get access or buy or invest in Bitcoin through ETFs and the like, or by actually buying the underlying asset?
Yeah, so in 1997, an executive might ask their secretary to type up an email for them and send that email. And that's simply because the technology was difficult for that executive to directly operate at that point. But the message got through, and the executive and the technology both got more capable. There is so much money on the sidelines managed by registered investment advisors in different kinds of funds like retirement funds and companies that want to access the technology, that want to gain exposure to these uncorrelated assets or digital asset class. And so there was a bit of run-up by speculators in our own industry in the price of Bitcoin, anticipating these ETFs and soon, hopefully, an Ethereum ETF. But the point is, there's a giant amount of money, hundreds of billions of dollars on the sidelines that's waiting to get in and get exposure to this.
What is your sense in terms of conversations you've had about the prospect of Ethereum or a Solana ETF or other kinds of currencies being allowed to go down this path? if in fact we get to an approval on Bitcoin?
So Ethereum is arguably the most mature ecosystem, the deepest ecosystem. There's just, as a platform for decentralized applications, there's just so much infrastructure and activity around the world. Bitcoin is a narrower technology, but it's a reasonably mature technology. So they're both prime candidates.
Joseph, though,
Solana is a great technology, but it's not a mature ecosystem yet.
Okay, but let's take that out of the equation then for a second. Let's talk about Ethereum. Have you spoken to the SEC recently and gotten any indication that you are next on the docket?
Nope.
Nope.
They don't tell us their intentions.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think over the last several months, there's been clear indications or signaling or something going on where people seem to know or think they know about what's happening as it relates to Bitcoin and ETF.
Yeah, so we're like maybe like the secretary in 1997 or the builders of the email systems in 1993. We have direct hands-on to making the technology and making the technology usable. We are much less focused at consensus on sort of more traditional financial instruments enabling the mainstream to get access to that technology.